Hi everyone, my name is Justin Odisho, and in this video I'm going to go over some of what's new in the Adobe Premiere Pro 2019 update for Creative Cloud. So opening up Premiere Pro, one quick little feature to start with is they have the home button in the top left corner now, so you can always get back to your startup screen when you want to instead of having to close the whole application. And also you notice this little button here to open Premiere Rush projects. So I just did the video all about Adobe Premiere Rush, and you can open those projects into Premiere Pro as well if you want to get further on the editing. But I do have a project open with a couple random clips on the timeline, and the first biggest improvement that's happened most noticeably is the Luma Tree color panel. Under the curves section, we've got these new ways to adjust and edit color. So we've got the same old RGB curves that there always was, and these are still super powerful, but now we have these new hue saturation curves. So with these new curves tools, we now have the power to adjust the saturation, hue, luma based on one color at a time if we want. So let's say I want to desaturate everything but this yellow taxi. If I go to the hue versus saturation section, I can click to add points on this line. So I can see the ranges of yellow kind of go from here to here. I'll add a point on each end, and then you'll notice I can add a point in the middle and drag it up or down. But in this case, I'm going to drag everything else down except for those points. And you can see we've desaturated everything, but we need to work on it a little bit. Let's bring some of that orange back in. I guess it's a little bit more orange than yellow. And now we've basically desaturated everything but the yellow tones in this image. You can also click this check mark here to turn the preview on or off for it. And there's also the ink dropper tool if you want to choose a section of the image to pick, and it'll kind of add a point for that section. Underneath that, we have the hue versus hue. So it lets you rotate through the hue cycle. So if I just do one point, you can see what's going on here. Looks pretty cool. We can make the car pink or yellow or green. Now, if I turn off the preview of the other one, we can see we're actually just changing the hue of the entire thing as if we would have added an HSL adjustment from the effects panel. But in combination with the other one, it's a cool way to kind of isolate and change it to a pink taxi cab if we want. But just like the other one, you can add points. So let's say I only wanted to change the yellows, but keep everything else at that center baseline. I can do that by adding points, thus only changing the parts that I want or influencing those colors that I want without influencing everything else. So again, another cool way to do selective color, whether that's for correction or grading or just creative purposes. You also have hue versus luminance, so how bright you want one specific color to be. Let's say I want the yellow to be really bright. I can do that as well. Make the taxi cab really bright, but not really adjust the brightness of everything else, or make it really dark, or just slightly darker, you know? And then you also have saturation, so you can desaturate the entire image, saturate the entire image. And then you also have the luma versus saturation. Just remember, luma is like light, it means brightness. So left is the shadows and right is the highlights. So if I want to make all of the shadows desaturated, I can add a point there and lower it, and then all of the highlights saturated, I can make those saturated. So you see what we did? The bright colors are still saturated, the shadows become pale and desaturated, and that can actually kind of make for a cool look in itself. But just remember to read it in that way. We have the shadows to the highlights, and you can adjust the brightness and this. You can adjust the saturation of the different points of brightness. And you also have the saturation, so you can adjust the saturation of the different points of saturation. It's getting a bit meta now, but on the left hand side you have the least saturated portions of the image, and on the right hand side you have the most saturated portions of the image. So you can increase those or decrease those as you like. Remember to just read it from left to right the same way you would read the curves, the original curves tool. If you guys are super confused on curves, I actually have a couple videos just focusing on how RGB curves work and color additive theories and whatnot. So study up on that, but don't get too confused on it. It just gives you different options to selectively adjust the color or brightness or saturation of different parts of the color or brightness or saturation of your image. If you ever want to reset a line, you can just double click on it. Or if you ever just want to delete one point, you can hold Command on the keyboard, and you can minus points out, get them back to default. So let's give those pink taxis a go. And another cool addition they've added is the ability to stack Luma Tree color effects. So if you drop down this menu, you can add a whole nother Luma Tree color effect. And on the left hand effects controls panel, you can see we've got two going on here. So you can name one, I don't know, color grading, and I can name the original pinkify the taxis, just so I know what I did. I pinkified the taxis, and then on this new one, I get to apply those I get to do the same things all over again. So if I want to stack different effects, add LUTs or different corrections over and over, we can apply them on top of each other. So those are some cool new additions and changes to the Luma Tree color panels and sections. I have tutorials all on the basics of those if you still want to know what all of these are, all the stuff that hasn't changed. So make sure to check out my channel for that. But moving on, there's also been new additions to the Essential Sound and Graphics panels. So if we open up the Essential Sound panel, so let's say you're working with a dialogue, people talking. If you click Reduce Noise, you can adjust it pretty simply with a slider, so you don't have to do too much crazy tweaking and scientific adjustments. On the effects control panel, if I hit Edit under the denoiser, you can actually see kind of what's going on. Looks cool. So this is trying to denoise just NYC street traffic noise, which is going to be pretty loud and probably hard to denoise. But you can hear the difference before and after if I check this on and off. It definitely does a pretty decent job removing that noise. So if you're trying to save a audio clip or sections of audio or voiceovers where something just kind of went haywire, these tools could come in handy for you. You also have reduce reverb and all of these other quick adjustments based on sliders that have been in the Essential Sound panel since they introduced it. So moving on, the other thing that they improved was a lot of ways that you can use Essential Graphics templates. So if you didn't know about Essential Graphics templates, these are basically utilizing some power and tools from After Effects and Adobe stock to give you quick titles or quick lower thirds and just quick animations or captions. They've made it for one so that you can adjust the length and the size and a lot of aspects of these to make them smoother and work better. And they've also added new functionality to these data-driven ones that they call. So if I created a .csv or spreadsheet file with actual numbers and data in it, I could actually input it into these data-driven infographics or stock templates, and the numbers would change depending on the information that you had in your spreadsheet to represent those percentages and numbers accurately. Those are some of the most notable new features, but aside from these, they've also added improvements in many other areas, such as VR and just basic performance upgrades, they're saying. So if you want a full list of all the specific details on little tweaks that they've done, you can check it out on their website. They have all the new features, but basically, hopefully these performance improvements work well. We've got the new Premiere Rush kind of cross-platform app and some quick audio and color grading and motion graphics improvements. So if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like on it below. Let me know what you think in the comments, what your favorite features are or what you want to see them add. If you're new to Premiere Pro or video editing and you want to learn more, I have hundreds of free tutorials on all different type of topics on my channel. So check those out and subscribe for more. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, you want to reach out to me, go follow me on Instagram at Odisho. It's the best place to keep in touch with me, behind the scenes, what I'm doing and more. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.